This is the land of the Dogon people, somewhere between the Malian capital of Bamako and the fabled desert city of Timbuktu. A special assignment team is traveling through Mali to film one of Africa's most valuable cultural treasures, sets of ancient manuscripts. Some are to be found deep in the Sahara Desert. Where the vast plains of West Africa dissolve into the Sahara, and close to the river Niger lies Timbuktu. It's an ancient city where time has stood still. In and around the city's mosques and centers of learning, academics, intellectuals, and imams are immersed in reading. They're studying ancient copies of the Quran and other manuscripts dealing with law, theology, grammar, medicine, astronomy, politics, and mathematics.
There's a saying, salt comes from the north, gold from the south, money from the land of the white man, but knowledge and beauty can only be found in Timbuktu.
Timbuktu might be synonymous with a faraway and God-forsaken place, but this city is the guardian of not only Africa's, but one of the world's most valuable collections of ancient manuscripts. Centuries ago, Timbuktu was one of the Muslim world's most important centers of learning. It boasted 3 universities and more than 50 Quranic schools.
In the 16th and 18th centuries, more than 25,000 students studied at the University of Sankore.
There are many manuscripts from the Middle Ages. The manuscripts are very important for the history of Africa. They show that Africa has contributed to the history of Africa and world civilization.
The students were studying in all fields of knowledge: mathematics, sciences, philosophy, grammar, theology. All fields were studied in Timbuktu.
A holy city of 333 saints, Timbuktu has started to regain some of its former glory. Recently, it was on the short list of the new 7 wonders of the world. There's a renewed focus on its heritage of ancient manuscripts, with an international drive to restore and preserve them. South Africa stands at the forefront of this conservation effort.
You go to Timbuktu, you get a real feeling of this fantastic history of our continent, of which we should be very proud.
We should be proud of our glorious past. It's not true that Africa has not contributed to civilization.
President Thabo Mbeki visited Timbuktu in 2001. He was shown some of the manuscripts kept at the Ahmed Baba Institute. He was shocked at their state of decay and launched the South African Mali project. It aims to restore and preserve the Timbuktu manuscripts.
We see South Africa and Mali, both African countries, coming together for the preservation of an African heritage.
Riasan Naidu is the director of the South African Mali project. He's been a regular visitor to Timbuktu for more than 3 years and accompanied our team to Mali.
It is quite symbolic to have a place like Timbuktu on the continent that shows that Africans achieved scholarship long before colonialism.
Timbuktu was named after the well of a woman who supplied camel caravans with water. It sprang up more than 1,000 years ago as a trading center. Traders from the north brought salt, traders from the south traveled up the river Niger with baskets of gold and other goods. These intellectuals and scholars produced between 600,000 and 800,000 manuscripts. An estimated 100,000 still exist, 22,000 of which are preserved at the Ahmed Baba Institute. They hold the key to many of the continent's historical and cultural secrets.
And then here we have some of the very beautiful and old manuscripts. This is one of the oldest manuscripts in the collection. It's a manuscript on Islamic law that dates from the 13th century, and in fact the date on the manuscript is 1204, and we can also see how fragile the manuscript is from the little bits and edges that continually break off, and we can see those fragments on the edges there. But this is surely must be one of the most beautiful manuscripts in the collection. This is a manuscript that talks about the biography of the Prophet. It's a copy from the 18th century. It's written in Moroccan script, which is quite unique in its style. Very fine, small writing, very richly decorated, and very beautifully illuminated with gold colors.
The same Quran?
No, that's the same Quran, and the illumination is also in gold there, similar to the biography of the Prophet that we saw. But this one here is also quite interesting and quite a unique one. That refers to the sciences and medicine among the manuscripts in the collection, because this refers to the optical treatment, that is the treatment of eyes and eye sicknesses. And we see here the very fine illustrations that actually refer to the texts that talk about the treatment in the manuscripts.
It is these manuscripts at the Ahmed Baba Institute that South Africa is now assisting Mali in preserving. Several of these workers have been trained in preservation at the National Archives in Pretoria. Most of the remaining manuscripts are in private collections, in Mali and in countries like Morocco and France. Some of the most valuable manuscripts are in the collection of Ismail Haidara, a Malian who traces his roots back to European royalty. His private library contains thousands of manuscripts, some 1,000 years old. His forefathers came from Toledo in Spain and produced some of the most important historical documents in West Africa.
The manuscripts are more than just scholarly material. They have a symbolic attachment, an emotional attachment, because these manuscripts were passed down from one generation to the next. It's an inheritance. And for that reason, people have been very attached to it and have not let it go very easily. Et ça, c'est l'original.
Ça, c'est l'original.
Qui est écrit par
Mahmoud Kati.
Kati.
Donc c'est très très important.
Ouais.
Tu vois comment c'est conservé. C'est vraiment le trésor de la famille.
Now that's the original version of the Tariq al-Fattash, written by Muhammad Kati from the 16th century. And that is the primary reference of the history of Sub-Sahara, which they have the original of. Written by one of his ancestors, Muhammad Kati.
So that's like invaluable.
Yeah, that's like, c'est très très important. Pas juste pour les familles, mais
Mais
aussi
ça,
pour
c'est très important
Ouais.
parce que l'UNESCO est en train d'éditer une partie de ce manuscrit comme œuvre représentative de l'humanité, série africaine.
Okay.
Donc, c'est une œuvre reconnue par l'UNESCO,
Ouais.
donc c'est vraiment un patrimoine mondial.
Okay. This is really an object of World Heritage status, because also at the moment UNESCO is busy with translating.
Father.
Despite international efforts to save and preserve the Timbuktu manuscripts, some still find their way onto the market. We were offered for sale 4 manuscripts, said to have been written between the 17th and 19th centuries. The sellers wanted 2,000 rand per manuscript.
This is a 16th century to now.
And where did he get this one?
From his great-great-grandfather.
This comes from his great-grandfather.
It's not everybody who sells the manuscript, but when you need money, You have to sell that, you understand?
When you need money, you have to sell it.
You have to trade it.
So he's selling it on behalf of his neighbor.
Yes, this is for his neighbor, he sell it.
But how do we know this is genuine?
This is...
How do we know it is real? How do we know this is not copies or fake?
No,
or
this is not copy, you see. This is not the paper of now. This is long time ago.
Scholarship in Timbuktu ended in 1591 when Morocco invaded Mali and abducted its most prominent scholars to Marrakesh with their manuscripts. Mali lost more manuscripts when the French colonized the country. As a result, many families have for generations hidden their manuscripts in the Sahara Desert. In temperatures of 50 degrees, we went in search of one such family in an ancient village called Bushbia. For more than 50 years, the chief of the village has kept the manuscripts buried in the desert. He only recently took them out.
Okay, now we go to Cap Nord. We go to Bushbeiha. Bushbeiha is 250 kilometers from Timbuktu in the desert. We know this village. It's very, very old village. This year is more old in Timbuktu. In the desert, activity, we have many camels.
It's a village that's very special in Mali. There's noted to be a collection, an ancient collection of manuscripts there that was also placed underground in a few centuries ago. Bushbia was an important village, then became an important village for travelers coming from as far as Algeria, who came through Taudeni bringing salt, and then coming down to Timbuktu, they would have to pass through Bushbia because of the water supplies there to feed their camels. So Bushbia, with many travelers passing through there in the last 300 years, the family of Bushbia have also collected manuscripts and have passed them down as with tradition within the family, so that this collection of manuscripts still exists there today in this village.
And this is Sheikh Bai Zayini, the chief of the Bushbia village.
My ancestors collected these manuscripts. After they died, the building collapsed where they were kept. I took over in 1955 and put the manuscripts in a safer place under the sand. But the sand threatened them, and I removed them and built a new place. I have read all the manuscripts. They deal with all fields of knowledge: logic, grammar, literature, law, theology. We can trace this manuscript back to the 12th century of the Muslim calendar, which is equivalent to the 18th century.
He's saying that there is a problem of termites here. There's a white insect that eats away the paper, so it is a problem.
Nebe pumani jali uye